The Nigerian Fiscal Policy Committee, led by Taiwo Oyedele, has proposed sweeping reforms to the country's value-added tax system, including increasing the VAT rates on certain goods and services to offset the removal of multiple consumption taxes currently imposed by various states. Now, joining me on the program to make sense of this is Dr. Muda Yusuf. He is actually the CEO, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for joining me on the conversation, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
All right. Now, let's look at this recent proposal by the Oyedele-led committee on, of course, taxes and, of course, reforms. Now, what do you make of their latest proposal as regards some sort of tax rejig system for the nation and its impact on individuals and also, probable impact on businesses too? Dr. Muda.
Yes, the general proposal of the Taiwo Oyedele Committee, I believe, yes. I said the general principle of the committee was to streamline the number of taxes, reduce the number of taxes, and reduce all the duplications, overlapping system. And I think that is what they are working towards, to ensure that you have a much better tax environment. But the latest development now is the fact that the Taiwo Oyedele Committee is talking about, increasing the VAT, which has been generating some concern around among stakeholders. But that is also neither here nor there. But generally, the principle is to prune down the number of taxes and ensure that we have the burden on the citizens.
All right, let's of course give a bit of X-ray to what is currently obtainable right now within the Nigerian system. I mean, but just to pick an excerpt of part of the things that the committee actually did propose. In their words, they said our goal is to streamline the tax system, just like you said, making it easier for businesses to comply, for the government to administer. By consolidating these taxes into a single, more efficient VAT system, we can reduce administrative costs and increase overall tax compliance, end of quote. But let's look at what we have now. What is the situation, of the tax arrangement now for private individuals and even businesses? Because there are also complaints of multiple taxation. An average individual, for instance, pays taxes on transfers, pays taxes on payments, and when you, of course, add some of these taxes up, it looks like, you've been taxed on multiple fronts, aside maybe the ones that, comes out of your salary and all of that. So what exactly is the system like at the moment?
Well, we need to, separate the issues. There are fees maybe that are being charged by the banks and all the rest of them. That, in other words, if a service is rendered to you, you pay a fee for it. That is based on the services that are being rendered. A lot of that takes place within the private sector, especially around the banking system. Whether the fees are fair or not is a different conversation entirely. But a lot of that happens. But when we talk about multiplicity of taxes, we are talking more about charges imposed by either the government, I'm talking of the federal government, the state government, or the local governments, or their agencies, on the citizens or on businesses. And we have quite a lot of that. In fact, at some point, some analysts have put it as close to between 40 and 50 different kinds of taxes.
Can we go into specifics on some of those taxes?
Reform of taxation. You say what?
Specifics. You said you've had quite, a lot of that. Can we go into specifics, as regards some of those taxes that are
No,
considered?
for instance, at the
Yeah.
federal level,
Mm.
you have the company income tax, you have the value-added tax, you have the tertiary education tax, you have the the police trust fund tax, you have the NITDA, National Agency for Technology Development. You have a tax on that.
Mm.
You have a tax for NASENI. And in the pipeline, we have another tax that is coming up to support the NYSC. We have another tax that is coming up to support tertiary institutions. These are taxes that are charged on the profit of companies. I'm talking of federal level.
Mm.
In addition to that, there are also all manner of fees and charges imposed by regulatory agencies. So for a segment of the private sector, there's also a charge, there's a fee, there's a licensing fee, there's all manner of charges. So when you put all this together, it's quite enormous. And at the state level, you have all manner of taxes. You have a land or property tax. Of course, you have the pay, which is also at the state level. You have some environmental tax. You have infrastructure development levy. And so many other, these levies, vary from state to state. You have in some states where people barricade roads to be able to collect taxes, especially when it comes to movement of commodities. Then at the local government level, you have so many illegals, you have taxes, some of them collected by some of these area boys, non-state actors. Some of these transporters you see, they pay between 1,000 to 2,000 as tax every day, collected by either the union or all sorts of characters in some reflective jackets all over the place. Even people who are carrying load in the market. Then from the local government, you have the taxes on all these small traders. They call it lock-up shop tax. They have the canopy extension tax. They have the trade permits. So there are all manner of taxes all over the place.
Mm. I mean, you've highlighted
particularly at the state and local government. There's a need to bring sanity to the space, which I think that is what the government is doing.
Mm. I mean, you've highlighted quite a number of issues here, but there's a particular report that has it that Nigeria pays one of the least, or is the lowest tax collection center, or has one of the lowest tax collection rates, globally. According to this particular report, is at 2022, it's at about 10.8% gross domestic product. That's through tax receipts raised by 56%. Now, looking at this, and you've mentioned quite, an array of taxes collected by the government. How do we reach a compromise on this? How can we balance this with with reports that we are seeing that Nigeria being one of the least taxed economies in the world?
No, the point is that it has to do with the efficiency of tax administration.
Mm.
We have a very large informal sector. And the percentage of citizens in the tax net is extremely very, very small. You have some very wealthy people, and many of them, in fact, who are not paying taxes that is commensurate to their income. These are some of the loopholes in the tax system. And the current reform is meant to ensure efficiency in tax administration. It's meant to ensure that all those who are supposed to be in the tax net are in the tax net. Because not everybody is on payroll, that you can easily walk into an office and say, okay, where is your payroll? Where are the employees? There are so many people who are completely outside the payroll system. They are on their own, but they are not properly documented as taxpayers. So the point we are making is that those who are already in the tax net are paying heavily.
Mm.
They are being dealt with everywhere, left, right, and center. Whereas we have some people who are completely outside the tax net. So the whole idea of this rethinking in terms of strategy and national tax policy is to review all of this and plug these loopholes, using more technology and moving gradually away from, direct tax to indirect tax. Because when you are focusing so much on direct tax, you are looking more at those who are in the formal sector. But when you are looking at indirect tax, it's something that is much broader. It covers more of everybody because, to a large extent, it's a function of your consumption. So if you are somebody who's in Balogun or somebody who's in Alaba, you are a billionaire, you bring in maybe 20, 50, 100 containers every quarter. You are not on a regular payroll, but if your goods are coming in, they can be subjected to tax. If you are building a mansion, you have to pay some tax. You pay property tax. If you are buying a luxurious car, you pay some tax. If you are throwing a very big, lavish party, you pay a tax. If you are sitting in the first class of an airline flying abroad, you pay a tax. So you relate more to what people are consuming because people's consumption is, correlates with their income. So rather than be chasing their income, you target their consumption. So that is the new thinking, and that is why the Oyedele committee has come up with this idea of reviewing the VAT.
I mean,
from 7.5 to I don't know to what level.
Okay, so this particular initiative, one would also ask as regards implementation. But let's get into some of the specifics of this proposed reforms. I'll just give you like a bullet points of some of them. Full input VAT credits, that's one. Exemption of essentials from VAT. Harmonization of consumption taxes. Exemption of VAT on exports. The idea behind this one on exports is to encourage, Nigerian produce to go out there and get more competitive. Increased VAT on exemption threshold for small businesses, and also the introduction of VAT fiscalization and e-invoicing. It goes on and on. I would like to know your reaction on some of the specifics that I've mentioned, particularly as it would impact on the Nigerian economy. Given the fact that largely it's made up of small businesses and the informal sector.
Well, the exemptions are to take care of the low-income people and to ensure that things that are commonly used by the ordinary Nigerians are not impacted by the taxes, particularly by the VAT. That is why there's an exemption for food items, for medical items, for educational items, and a few things like that are used by the common people. That is the rationale for doing that. And of course, a good thing that they are even also exempting exports because we need to give export all the incentives that you can give them. That is the whole idea of saying that some of these exemptions will exist in order not to put too much pressure on the average citizens. So, and if you are having that and you are having a rationalization of the taxes, maybe there is a strong argument to review the VAT because, in fairness, the VAT in Nigeria is perhaps the lowest around, one of the lowest globally. In Ghana, the VAT is 15%. In South Africa, the VAT is 15%. In UK, the VAT is 20%. In US, they don't have VAT, but they have all manner of 6 taxes that varies from state to state because VAT essentially is a consumption tax. So a case could be made. One, because of the nature of the economy, because the economy is highly informal. You can't be going to people's shops and be asking them for their statement of account, how much are you earning? Those things cannot work. So the only way you can capture those people in the tax nest is to go through the route of VAT. Because no matter what, they will eat some things, they will consume. They will build houses, they will buy a car, all sorts of activities around the economy can easily be captured rather than going after them. So if you do that, you are likely to get more revenue and the efficiency level is likely to be much better than concentrating purely on directors or income tax.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, there are also fears. I mean, you mentioned it, while, of course, you started talking, that this proposal, might also lead to an increase in tax rates being paid. My question to you is this: is this timely, particularly for Nigerians?
Well, what Taiwo Udele has told us is that this will be implemented in a way for the citizens. I know that may be very difficult to do. But if you are coming from the background of the fact that from a strategic point of view, we need to move away from direct taxation to indirect taxation. If you must capture a lot more people in the tax net, and if you must optimize revenue. And from the point of view, again, of the fact that our VAT is one of the lowest globally. So from that point of view, some of these taxes are going to be dropped. So that is what the committee is proposing. So when they are dropping some taxes, they are contemplating to increase the VAT. So whatever we are losing from the slight increase, and I imagine that the increase should be very slight, not more than maybe 2 or 2.5%, then we gain through the taxes that will be reduced. And there will be maybe a much bigger threshold for exemption for small businesses or some basic items like bread, staple food, and so on. That is the strategy. Because no matter what we say, the government also needs revenue. And we have to be very strategic about it. We need to move in a way that it will be more progressive. In other words, you get those who have the bigger ability to pay more, and as much as possible, protect the vulnerable segments of the society.
All right. Now, talking about, of course, revenue drive by the current administration, it seems to be pretty much aggressive. And Nigerians, even though they understand that, okay, the government needs money to run its administration, and even though we've seen government officials, including the president, from time to time telling Nigerians to endure, it will only get better and make sacrifices, even though many are also asking what sacrifices is being made on their part. Recently, the issue of the cybersecurity levy, came to the fore and has elicited reactions from many. People asking, why should I have to pay, for that on every transaction? I'd just like to know your opinion on this, Dr. Yusuf.
Well, the cybersecurity levy is not an appropriate kind of tax, in my view, because it is too general. It doesn't even give allowance for even the vulnerable segments of the society. And the basis of the taxation too is something that one can interrogate. And when we look at also the proportionality of the amount that you want to raise and what the government is saying that it wants to raise it for, that again we can interrogate. So there's a need for a review of that cyber security levy. First, the rate is too high, because if you are imposing a levy of 0.5% on all the electronic payment transactions, although we have some exemptions, even with that, they are talking about a tax that will come to close to 4 trillion. So by the time you are imposing a tax that is equivalent to 4 trillion on the economy, you know the impact that will have. And you can't use that kind of money to say that you are using that to fight cyber. And you also need to relate it to the fact that we have other taxes that people are already paying. Now, the Daily Committee is also contemplating a review of VAT. So even if you have to review tax, it has to be strategically done. This one, I'm not sure the thought process that went into it is robust enough. Then there are also constitutional issues as to whether you can just impose a tax and hand over the process to a single agency without dropping the process into the federation account to not specified in the constitution. Then the amount itself is too much. Then again, it's affecting everybody, whether your business is making loss, whether you are making profit, whether you are a poor man, whoever you are. The exemptions are not there, and it's going by the circular issued by the central bank. So we are now having a different version. I think the special advisor to the president is now saying that it's not 0.5, that is 0.005. We also need clarity on that. But on the whole, I think the consensus is that the implementation of the cybersecurity levy legislation, to allow for a much more robust engagement and consultation with the stakeholders in the economy.
All right. Dr. Yusuf, before I let you go on this first half of the program, what other avenues or areas would you suggest, that the government explore, to generate revenue outside taxes?
No, well, taxes is the is the biggest source of revenue for any government globally. But the other things we can do, better environment in our oil and gas sector, because the oil and gas sector is our cash cow. So we need to create a better environment security-wise and policy-wise, so that investment in the sector can grow. If investment grows, we can get a lot more financial resources in foreign exchange, in other revenue from the oil and gas sector. Secondly, we also need to focus on growing the economy itself, because there's a relationship between economic growth and revenue growth. If you create an environment for investment to thrive, to do well, to grow, to make more profit, then government will also make more money of increasing revenue. We should look at how we can create the space for more investors to thrive, so that as they grow, they'll be able in a better position to give more revenue to government. I think that will be my proposal on the best way forward as far as revenue mobilization is concerned.
All right. Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for your time.